Here we go. Hold on to your ball bearings for this one here. A whole bunch of images started leaking all over the internet this morning. Instagram, Facebook, the original source, who knows at this point. But that being said, we finally get a decent idea of what both the Studio Series 86 Hot Rod / Rodimus looks like. It's probably going to be the Hot Rod version, judging by the scale. And we get our first look at these Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom fossilizers and what they look like, and more importantly, how they work with the deluxe class. So let's start with Studio Series 86, the infamous Studio Series 86 that we keep hearing so much about but have seen little of. Now, first we'll go into the one that's just a teaser listing. They say that we have a G1 Jazz coming, and we just have a stand-in image right now of Flero Deary's art. So no indication of how that figure is going to look like, but if the art is in the end any indication, hopefully some kind of, again, the Martini Porsche GT from the late 70s would be very much welcome for Jazz's alt mode. But we'll see with that one. That one's a lot more of a difficult hill to die on in a lot of ways. But let's talk about my boy Hot Rod here. I hate to say it, guys, but it's just because I'm such a hardhead when it comes to Hot Rod's design. Anyone that saw many years ago, I did a review on the last Masterpiece Hot Rod that came out, and then I even talked about the Fan Toys Hoodlum, the third-party one. And I'm really anal when it comes to that design and perfecting it and everything. And again, it's what could I expect from a retail, Studio Series Voyager product? Obviously, it's not going to be perfection, but I mean, it's good. It looks really good. It looks like they learned their mistakes that they made from the original MP28 Hot Rodimus, but some of the same old mistakes are still there. The robot mode looks pretty decent, but they have a Rodimus Prime spoiler on a Hot Rod body. Now, you're probably going, what does that mean, Proto Man? Well, here's the thing. Hot Rod spoiler in animation models and statues and a lot of stuff that's show accurate is a lot more flat. It's a lot more like it's not a V so much as it's a flat spoiler back there. And the original MP09 Hot Rod Rodimus toy even recognized that, where when it's Hot Rod mode, you could open up the V and it's more of a flat spoiler, and when it's Rodimus Prime, you could close up the V and make it a full V spoiler on the back. So unfortunately, they gave him the Rodimus Prime spoiler on the back, which doesn't match the aesthetic. It goes completely almost over the back of his head, which doesn't look nice. It really doesn't. I always tell people, look at, I believe it was called Metal Force was the company that did it, or Metal Storm. No, I think it's Metal Force. They did a Hot Rodimus statue back in the day, and it looked spectacular, and it matched the old Flero Deary animation model from the 86 movie perfectly. And I always feel that that should be, the silhouette that needs to be matched, and it wouldn't affect the transformation. I'll tell you that right now. I almost feel like they almost got it with the MP09. They had it right there, more or less, but because they had to feed in that transformation gimmick where, it also has to be Rodimus Prime and stuff, it kind of messed with the toy. I look at this one and I'm like, you almost got it. You almost got it. You learned from the mistakes of the MP28. You implicated some of the stuff that Hoodlum did, but you made the same mistakes that Hoodlum did, which was you still have the wrong spoiler. And when you look at the alt mode, the car mode, a lot of those almost there, but not quite. The hood and the windshield is way too short. Again, the wrong spoiler that just looks kind of funky. I don't know, the proportions. Again, people are probably going like, Proto, you're being too hard on this. I am, but it's just because everyone knows it's my favorite character. I have like every mold and every piece of merchandise of this character has ever existed, and I just want perfection. I just want to hit it at this point. And I'm going to give it a pass because it's retail, it's within the Studio Series, it's within the budget. Is this probably the best non-masterpiece, non-third-party Hot Rod product we've gotten thus far? Easily, not counting statues and stuff, but those don't count. So this easily is it. But man, if they just would have, figured out a little bit, little things here and there, could have really finished the final product and make it look good. But I mean, again, it's probably still the best hot rod we could get at this point. Voyager scale. Is it going to be a day one purchase for me? You know it. You know it. But, you know, again, just the little engineering cues that I see that just could have been fixed here and there. But otherwise, I love it. Looks good. But was hoping for a little more. Too much to ask, in my opinion, from me. Let's jump into Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom and our first look, very first look at the fossilizers. We don't have the name of this fossilizer, but judging by the fact that it's the Velociraptor and the two names that we've been given, I think this one is the Chomp Stomp or Stomp Chomp character, which uses the old trademark from the Age of Extinction Chomp and Stomp Grimlock. So this is probably Chomp Stomp, and we see that he has a very like, you know, bony kind of, you know, fossil body robot mode and fossil body alt mode. What's interesting to note is his mace weapon, because it shows afterwards how it attaches to a deluxe class warpath that we've already seen in large numbers now. But what's interesting, so it pretty much it comes apart exactly like the weaponizers and everything and the modulators, and they attach all over the figure, and it makes like a bone armor and weapons and stuff. But what's fascinating is one of the weapons turns into a mace, and the mace looks 100% like the old mace skull weapon that the old Optimus Primal toy has. So if you look carefully at the mace that's being held by Warpath there in his right hand, or on the left side for us from the image, it's the mace. It's straight up the mace that Primal had all those years ago from his old 1996 Beast Wars toy. So nice little touch there. So if they have to use these fossilizers to be little weapons packs to fill out the armors and stuff, that'd be, you know, if we have to get a gut gun or a tail gun for Cheetor through these fossilizers, maybe that's a way to sell two products to complete the figures. Who knows? But that's really cool. I really dig that. It looks interesting. Looks very, very Skeleton Warriors, very Bone Age, two like old toy lines from back in the day, one from the 80s, one from the 90s. Skeleton Warriors, I think that was done by Playmates, but Bone Age was done by Kenner. Amazing stuff. Looks really interesting. I'm very fascinated with this new play pattern and how they're going to go about it. But very, very cool. And then, of course, some of the other images, we got to see the Ark that was also leaked from the same source and everything else. So this is fascinating. This is fascinating. At least it confirms more or less that Studio Series 86 is a real thing, and here's images of it, and we have a good idea of what the aesthetic's going to look like. We finally have an idea of how the fossilizers are going to look. Much larger than I thought they were going to be, so I almost feel like they almost look like they're something that belongs in the deluxe class, not even in that of the basic or the smaller price point, the core class as we call it now. So we're going to definitely get a better story with that and find out what's going on with the fossilizers in terms of price points and how it's going to work in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, looks great, looks really cool. Again, we have the listing for the Jazz, which we'll learn more when that comes about, and same thing, the Grimlock, the leader Grimlock too, that was mentioned before in the past with the wheelie that's going to be on the back. We'll find out more when it comes, but let me know what you think about these guys. I know I was being harsh on the Hot Rod, but I just have such high expectations of this character, and I just want to have my animation perfect Hot Rod, and I know it can be done, because all it takes is small little tweaks here and there. And I was kind of hoping that a third-party company like Fans Toys would have nailed it, but I felt that the head was not soft enough, meaning like the facial sculpt, and that Rodimus Prime spoiler. You guys got to drop this V spoiler. That's not how his spoiler looks on the back. And it rides so high too. It's not how it is. There people who need to go back and watch the series and realize just how these things are done. Maybe it's an engineering thing, maybe it's a budget thing, but it is what it is. Let me know what you think about this. Are you excited? Are you hyped? I know I am. Studio Series, War for Cybertron Kingdom. Bring it on in 2021.